Hey everybody, welcome to 3D6 Charge, a podcast about competitive Warhammer 40k, the state of the game and community news. We are streaming live at Twitch/3D6 Charge, where you can follow and subscribe, and we're also anywhere that you can find podcasts. This is episode 27, We Died of Plague. I am your host, Chris Vo, and joining me tonight is Kevin Lieb.
Howdy.
Benjamin Rubenstein.
Hello everyone.
And Omar Q.
Hey team.
All right, so big news on the docket is the Death Guard codex is coming out this upcoming Saturday, and as is tradition, somebody has basically leaked the entire thing onto the internet.
No, the YouTube reviews are up. Like the official GW reviewers have done their reviews, so we know the rules.
Yeah, so as is the other tradition, we've come up with some lists, and we want to talk about the changes in this new codex and its strengths and weaknesses via talking about these lists. We don't want to just go over a checklist of these are good relics and these are bad relics. No, we want to put some thought behind it and try to make a mono dex army that works. So I think first off, who did we decide was going first on this one?
Me.
Benjamin.
Yes. All right. So, Ben, lead us off. Let me bring up your list while you're.
All right. So, the first list that I'm going to be talking about is going to be the Demon Engine list. It's the last one. Scroll all the way down on our lists. So my play company is running as the Tallyman. I think that a lot of us agree that the Tallymen have some of the best things going on as far as play companies go. Every play company gets one relic, one stratagem, and one warlord trait. And the warlord trait's contagion aura. That's an aura that your warlord generates around. It's actually not an aura specifically. It is an area that is like an aura that does not have the aura keyword around your warlord that has some sort of debuff associated with it. And the Tallyman's warlord trait is the droning, which makes it so that the area around your warlord is if enemy models start the movement phase in the area, they lose half of their movement characteristic, which is insane. And another important part about that is only your warlord generates this aura. The aura gets bigger as the game goes on, but for 2 command points, you can pass that aura to another unit in the same detachment as yourself, which is, there's some shenanigans where you can really throw things at your opponent and just lock down a huge amount of their army, losing movement speed. So that's why I picked the Tallyman. Their relic is also very powerful, although in this particular case, I chose not to take it because I didn't have a good carrier for it. So
before we move on, what does the relic do for the ferrymen?
Their relic, the carrier rerolls all hit rolls and wound rolls in melee combat.
That's nuts. That's really good.
It's ridiculous on a Demon Prince. I did not bring a Demon Prince to this list because that's not what I was looking for. I'm bringing a single spearhead detachment, so -3 command points. They made our troops really good in this book, so I chose to bring none of them. I have a Malignant Plaguecaster. His warlord trait is I think I put the wrong thing there. Is the droning. And his 2 powers are there's a power that extends the aura. I call it an aura again, even though it's not. It extends the contagion up to increases the area of contagions up to 6 inches to a maximum of 12 inches around your target.
So does that mean like starting turn 1, you have a 7-inch contagion range?
Correct. You have a 7-inch contagion range on turn 1. Yeah, so the ranges for contagions are turn 1, it's 1 inch, so you have to be melee combat. Turn 2, it's 3 inches. Turn 3, it's 6 inches. Turn 4, it's 9 inches. Lords of Contagion increase it by 3 inches. There's a piece of war gear for, I believe it's the Choppy Terminators that increases it by a couple inches. And then there's this power that increases it by 6 inches. And the stratagem that lets you share it increases the turn count by 1. I believe that's all the ways you can mess with it.
Yep, all of them cap you at 12-inch max or max contagion range.
Yes, we're gonna keep calling it an aura because it really feels like it should be one, but it's just not.
Actually, let's let's stop there and talk about that. Do we think GW messed up and wanted to make it an aura, or do we think this was an intentional decision on their
I don't
part?
think they messed up because this isn't like they got caught like halfway between an edition change where some things were auras and some things were not. This is the third book of 9th edition. They know what auras are at this point and what should or should not be one.
Yeah. It's pretty clearly intentional because there's things in this book that do extend aura ranges that don't mention capping contagions, and I'm like pretty sure they just didn't call it an aura because they didn't feel like they felt, I guess, there's certain things they didn't want to be able to turn off, and there's also other things in this book that they didn't want to be able to buff it. There's a relic that gives all your auras plus 3 inches. I guess they didn't want that relic to be like, oh, all my contagions are plus 3 inches, and now my like Lord of Contagion has like a 12-inch aura range without having to do anything. All right, so the Malignant Playcaster. So he's got the droning. He's extending his contagions. His powers are against contagions, and the classic Miasma Pestilence -1 to hit for a target unit. It's very, very good. For his relic, there's a new Death Guard relic where your caster can own extra power, and once per game when they get a power off, they heal D3 wounds. I'm taking that relic to also give him a really neat new power. What that power does is, let me look up the name of that power real quick.
You can probably just say what it does. I don't think
that's so true. Yeah, all right. So it's Curse of the Leper, which is an old power, but they've it's gotten a lot more interesting.
They made it usable.
Yeah, so it's roll 7d6, and every time you beat your target's toughness, it does a mortal wound. 7d6 is a lot, and because all Death Guard now have a baseline contagion of -1 toughness, it makes it very scary against low toughness models. Like if you have a toughness 3 model, it's toughness 2, and this power is doing an average of like 5 mortal wounds to it, which is scary. All right, sorry. That's the rest of this is very simple. I have 2 photo bloat drones with flesh mowers, 2 defilers with havoc launchers and twin heavy bolters, 1 defiler with a reaper autocannon, 3 blade burst crawlers with entropy cannons and heavy sluggers, and Mortarion. I have 105 points left over in this list that we are going to be using to summon Epitomus, because every single model in this list is a Nurgle demon, and therefore they all count towards the tally of Nurgle.
And it does not break Death Guard army abilities, right?
And it should be noted that the first bonus you get for 2 kills is reroll 1s to hit for Nurgle demons. And these are, unlike most Nurgle demons, these are Nurgle demons that kill. Every single one of these models is an extremely killing Nurgle demon, with the exception of the HQ, who's just like a Nurgle spellcaster who's not a demon. So everything in here is adding to the tally of Nurgle. So eventually we get rerolls, we get bonuses to strength. Eventually we start eventually we get like strength and toughness boosts. It's movement speed boosts. The big one though, honestly, is just the reroll ones to hit, because they all got buffs to hit on 2s. Defiler cannons, they're no longer battle cannons. Now it's like Defiler cannon, which is flat 3 damage, which is really good. And then we of course have Mortarion, which we're going to see him a lot. What do you guys feeling about Mortarion?
Mortarion's
I'm in love.
A fucking monster.
I think he's very strong. I kind of dislike that he almost feels like you should play him in every list, and that doesn't seem correct for
a Lord of
every.
War.
Yeah,
I agree. But I do like that he is getting play.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I've said a bunch of times, I like the big models like that, and the fact that Mortarion is now super playable and I don't have to justify him is exciting. I think as the game progresses, there's going to be lists out there without Mortarion in them, but looking at it right now, Morty's in. He's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to justify.
Like, aside from like early 8th edition lists like Bash Bros and stuff like that, you always felt like you were kind of putting yourself at a bit of a disadvantage by choosing to take Mortarion. Sure, if you like familiared into Warp Time or had a Swiss of Warp Time for him, he was a monster. But you also really got to hope that you got first turn, you know. So it always felt like some sort of a little bit of a liability and a little bit of feel badsies in choosing to take like a really cool model that you liked, you know. So yeah,
That's gone.
the hammer's gonna swing the other way, no doubt about it. But for now,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I bought the model a year ago. I've played him 4 times, and now I'm just going to play him all the time.
So for those who don't know the full thing that's going on with Mortarion, they released his data sheet. He's toughness 8. He has the new disgustingly resilient rule, the old 18 wounds, 4 up invulnerable save, 3 up armor. He gets to pick one of the Plague Company contagions to be spreading, and he starts off with a 9-inch aura and it never goes down, which is already great. On top of that, he has 3 other warlord traits. Things within 3 inches of him cannot get the benefit of auras that things from their army generate. He has the Arc Contaminator warlord trait, which is nerfed. It's now only affects core, and it only affects shooting if it's within 12 inches, but it still reroll all wound rolls with plague weapons if you are a core unit that is either in melee or shooting at a target within 12 inches. And then his last warlord trait is Revoltingly Resilient, which is the old Disgustingly Resilient, which is 5 up Feel No Pain. So he has the -1 damage, he has a 5 up Feel No Pain, 3 up armor, 4 up invulnerable save. He usually takes the Gloaming Bloat, which is things within 9 inches of him cannot shoot Overwatch, set to defend, or re-roll dice when shooting or fighting.
Can you give him the warlord trait that?
Wounds.
Yeah. Can you give him?
What was that, Kevin?
Can you give him the warlord trait that lets him only be wounded on a 4-up?
No, that's gone. That's what the Glowing Bloat used to be, if I remember correctly. But all of the contagion, all of the Play Company warlord traits are now contagion auras.
Okay.
But he shuts down rerolls, which is insane.
Yeah, it doesn't matter too much, but you can reroll damage and number of dice to hit.
Okay.
It's just hitting wounds. Which
Okay.
let me tell you, when you get a D6 in, you're going to reroll if you roll less than like a 4. So you need that day.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And also keep in mind we have that spell that increases the range by 6 inches of all of your contagion auras, and you're going to use that on him a lot because if you use it on him, it goes up to 12 inches, which is the bonus damage range for eradicators. So now your opponent has to choose to either get bonus damage on their eradicators or to be allowed to reroll dice with their eradicators, and you can never have both. Your eradicators are just pushed out of being at their maximum efficiency, which is a lot of people doing math. I'm like, oh, how do you kill Mortarion? It's like, oh, you need eradicators in 12 inches. Like, but you can't put them there. They don't get to reroll dice. They're hitting on 4s, no rerolls, wounding on 4s, no rerolls. That's not good math. Like, you're gonna get 1 wound per 2 eradicators.
Yeah,
it's really
especially when you're
he's
banking on eradicators to deal
ridiculous.
a lot of wounds. Like, there's got to be a better target than that on the field.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. But you have to kill him somehow. Like, he is very dangerous to most army types. He's going to kill any tank thing that he touches in melee combat. He's got 7 attacks, hitting on 2s at D3 plus 3 damage. He is a chapter master for the Death Guard, so he's got an aura of reroll 1s, and he can pick a unit and have it reroll everything. Because it's a chapter master thing, but the unit he picks does not need to be core because that's how chapter masters work. He can pick himself so he can get his reroll 1s back. He's insane. The unit is extraordinarily powerful, super tanky. The only thing is it doesn't play the mission great. So the list I wrote, nothing in this list plays the mission great. We're just pushing hugely tanky bodies at our opponent and just seeing if they can deal with it before they get wiped off the table, or if they can outscore us, because that's how you play against this list. This list is a bunch of heinously killing tanks. You just try to play the mission as best you possibly can. And that's where the droning comes in by locking down enemy movement, preventing them from getting onto objectives, and things like that.
So
what do you guys think
Mortarion
of our
doesn't
first pass?
play the objective great. That kind of got me thinking, well, what about good old SK? There's a Silent King, he's the Necron equivalent. Are Necron players that take SK facing that same issue that the SK just isn't great at playing the objective?
Oh, I meant this list specifically. So he doesn't help you play the objective. The Silent King doesn't help you play the objective. Oftentimes when you see the Silent King taken, it's in a list full of OBSEC things that are extremely good at playing the objective, so they are actually crushing on playing the objective. In this particular list, I'm just not taking anything that can play the objective. I'm just taking a bunch of sweet demon engines because I want to abuse Epinimus's rule. Well, last I had originally put a Nurgle demon prince into this list to get reroll ones, and then I was realizing I can just put a Epinimus in, and after I get 2 kills, it's just rerolling ones in the whole list, and I don't need to worry about aura ranges anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this list, on this archetype?
I honestly, I like it. It's a different way of playing the game. A lot of 9th edition is being defined by we're not killing anymore, we're playing the objective. And I think now we're seeing lists where it's like, you can win by killing, right? It's not necessary. People have options again, but now it's, you don't just have to kill. You can choose to play the objective. You can choose to play a killing army, and both are viable.
Also, keep in mind that while I don't have OBSEC, the models are so physically large that you can just not let your opponent on the objectives and hold them. Like, if a Defiler gets to objective before your opponent gets to it, like, it's just so big that they can't get onto it. It's like,
just use
3 inches is like, it could just stand on it. And, as far as secondaries go, While We Stand We Fight is excellent because you get to pick Mortarion and 2 Plague Burst Crawlers. And that's just like kind of a nightmare. Even if they kill Mortarion, the Plague Burst Crawlers just kind of sit in the back the whole game. You need to take engageable fronts with the blow drones. You're very low on model count, so doing that can be a little dangerous if you lose too many models too early. Although if you do that, you're probably just getting trounced anyway because you only have like 11 models. So if they start going down, you're in a lot of trouble. But yeah, this list is like pretty fun. I'm not sure if it's top tier competitive, but it's just like the first place my mind went to when I looked at all the new Demon Engine changes was like, all right, they lost core, so they can't get any rerolls from their book, but can we summon something in to like give them the rerolls back and just make their efficiency like totally push through the roof?
I'm trying to think through like which archetypes you might have issues with, like
Harlequins.
Like it's like Harlequins, right?
Yeah. Mortarion's very good against Harlequins, but everything else in the list just kind of folds to them.
Yeah.
Harlequins have no answer to Mortarion, to the point where like I almost don't know if, but like the Harlequins can beat me on the mission is the thing. Like but Mortarion will be like the last man standing. All Harlequin weapons are strength 4 and deal 2 damage. They rely on full wound rerolls to kill things that are high toughness. And Mortarion just sits there going, you can't reroll things, and all your things do 1 damage and wound on 6s. Also, I see you rely on invulnerable saves and having 1 wound. Well, my scythe attack is 21 swings and does 1 damage and wounds you on 2s, rerolling ones. Like, you don't get to survive. Everyone dies. That being said, like you'll have fun like swinging around with your Mortarion at the Harlequins, and then you'll get to the end of the game. You're like, you maxed every secondary and held every objective except the one Mortarion was on. Fair enough. Well, I had fun killing 80% of your army and then losing. But I do think the list has legitimately a really bad Harlequin matchup. Other than that, Chaos Demons could be a little rough, but Chaos Demons have sort of started moving towards this like multi-wound model archetype that these demon engines do very well against, like Nurglings and Plague Drones and Beasts of Nurgle. Like the Defilers just like kind of walk. Like Defilers are like a bunch of strength 16 attacks in melee. They just kind of go through them. So does Mortarion. The shooting's all very good against that.
Yeah, it kind of seems like any list that just like invulns are my base save are probably pointed efficiently against you.
Yeah. Harlequins, demons are like probably fine. Some versions of the Necron list where it's just like everything is OBSEC, you're like, all right, well, nothing is OBSEC, and your guys move fast enough to get on objectives before me, so I'm just going to get crushed in the primary. But I do think that baseline this list is very good. It also looks like a ton of fun to play. You have so much killing power. Even the games where you lose, you're going to be losing to like a smoking crater on the other side of the table, which is always kind of fun to play lists like that. You're just like, all right, I lost, but man, look at all the dead models that my opponent has.
You might lose,
unless you're playing Harlequins, you might not
time.
Kill very many. Yeah, this is a list that looks like a lot of fun. And it looks pretty powerful too. Like I think you can make serious runs with maybe not exactly this, but something like this.
It's a good archetype.
Yeah, it seems like a good bully list. Like it might not win a GT, but like you could probably easily crush an RTT and like.
Yeah, I would fully expect this list to do very well at most RTTs because, like I said, like you're trying to dodge the Harlequin matchup, and if you do that, I think generally speaking, you're in a pretty good place.
Even then, this is also a first draft list of rules you haven't played with.
Yeah,
I think it's a good archetype. Period. Might need some adjustment. You might say, I'm going to drop Mortarion and put in more Demon Engines. You might say, drop in Demon Engine for a unit of Terminators. I don't know. But I think, as a starting point for a codex that we haven't played with, it's pretty great. I really like it.
Yeah. All right. Omar, wanna hit us with what you got?
So I'm still trying to figure out the right plate company for this list, and I'd love some input from you guys. But
sure,
my idea for here is Mortarion's my big gun. He's there to ruin everyone's life. I've got 3 units of Plague Marines, 2 with 10, 1 with 8, or with 9, sorry, just because of points. I've got a unit of 10 Blightlord Terminators, and then 2 units of Death Shroud. I'm trying to take over the board.
Tell us about Blightlord Terminators, Omar. What do they give you? What do they do?
Let me get out. So they're kind of dumb. It's a little stupid. Let me get out their data sheet.
Is it dumb or is it good?
It's phenomenal. It's wonderful. So they're T5, 3 wounds, 2 up save, with a 4 up invuln. They've got 5 inches of movement. So killing them's going to be really, really hard. They also get they have Contagious of Nurgle, which is pretty great, and Disgustingly Resilient, so it's -1 damage to them. So again, killing them is going to be a lot of trouble. I've got them out with Bubotic Axes and Combine Bolters. I want a lot of shots. I like the Bubotic Axe because it gives them +2 strength, so strength 6 at AP2, 1 damage, and it's a plague weapon. And then 2 of them have Flails of Corruption, which
are great weapons.
You just make 2. Yeah, they're just great. So there's a lot going on here. Moving them is going to be hard. Blightlord Terminators get to ignore modifiers to their attrition rolls. They're harder to kill. They're a little harder to kill on morale because they've got Leadership 9.
Yeah,
they're a very survivable unit. With the boost to 5 inches of movement, I'm comfortable dropping them somewhere on a board. Sure, you might screen me out of an objective. They're going to get there eventually, and when they get there, they're not going to get off. On the other end of things, I also have 2 Death Shroud Terminators. I really like them because they've got a similar profile to the Blightlord Terminators with their melee, but they have, like Mortarion, they have 2 different profiles. They've got the Cleave, which gives them +3 strength, and but it turns into a Power Fist where they have -1 from that attack hit roll, or the Scythe, where they make 2 hits instead of 1. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Cleave being -1 to hit is like sort of a joke, because they also in this book went from weapon skill 3 to weapon skill 2, so they switched on 3s with it.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous.
I mean, they're like the elite. They're the elite thing they need to be. So the nice thing with the Death Shroud is they get to be flexible. If you've got a horde holding off an objective or part of a board, I'll drop you the Death Shroud and cleave through them. If you've got something tanky, they can handle that too. I put 2 units in because I want the Blight Lords to take the center of the board. My game plan here is Plague Marines. A unit of 10 is going to stand in the back and hold my objective, screen out as best they can. The other 2 units are running up the board. Mortarion is also running up the board. I want Mortarion to run up the board because you can't hide him. You can't guard him with Death Shroud. People are going to shoot him. They're going to have a lot of trouble killing him. You either kill Mortarion first turn and do nothing else for the entire turn, letting me do whatever I want there, or you don't kill Mortarion and then I get to have fun with him. Either way, I get control of the center of the board, and it puts me in a position to drop my Blightlord Terminators on the center of the board and the center objective, if there is one.
Yeah, also, if you're looking at a list, it's like, man, that list can kill a Mortarion in turn 1. You can just, like, outflank him. You can do that now.
Yeah, that's what, 3 CP, and also totally worth it.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
But like that's what I'm saying. There's a lot I can do. The Malignant Plague Caster, the Chaos Lord's there as an HQ slot, and to give rerolls for whatever he gets there. the Malignant Plague Caster is going to have the Curse of Lepers spell, and I'm trying to figure out what spell's the next best fit here. I personally learned through playing, so I'd actually want to play this list a few times with different plague companies and warlord trait combinations to figure out what works, not only what works, but what works with my playstyle and this list.
I like this one to hit spell. That's pretty good. In regards to play companies, Mortarian's Anvil, I think, makes a lot of sense for you.
Yeah, like
Their stratagem is pick a unit that get to heroically intervene.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yep, that's pretty good. I don't think you can ever go wrong with the droning. When you have these like slow Terminator units, just like forcing your opponent to also be slow is like kind of nice.
It's really nice. And
the droning, the ferryman.
It's that's gonna pay for itself a lot if you're going up against something like Eldar, where they can just cut you all game.
Yeah. The thing with that is you kind of want a delivery mechanism for that, which this list doesn't necessarily have. You want something like fast, like a blow drone.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think we can.
Yeah, like this list is there to fight and to survive. Survive being the key part.
Yep. Kevin and I were talking about Blight Lord Terminators. We are both extraordinarily impressed by them for 40 points a model.
Wait, another review where the 3-wound high toughness model is the thing we're saying to play?
Yeah. It's almost like that's a really good profile. And it's like even dumber than normal because they're 2-up armor, which is like, that's normal. They have 4-up invulnerable saves, which like is becoming pretty uncommon on non-characters. -1 damage, so you need 4 damage weapons to one-shot them, which don't really exist. So you need to make them fail multiple 4-up invulnerable save 2-up armors. Strength 6 in melee, when they have an aura of -1 toughness, means they wound Marines on 2s, rerolling 1s.
Yep. The other thing is, and what's also nice is they can actually take it to vehicles too with Veterans of the Long War if you need to.
Yeah.
Tough 8 vehicles, tough 7 vehicles, they wound on 4s.
Yeah, but I'm saying
need veterans.
I'm saying on a T8 vehicle. Right? But they just have a ton of options. And this list is also a little fluffy, right? This is Mortarion leading his forward guys before the demon engines kick in. Like, part of it is I had some fluffy fun with it, but I think this list could do well. It's going to be hard to kill. Plague Marine, like, everything in Death Guard is hard to kill off with morale and hard to kill, period. So even those Plague Marines are nice because I'm comfortable sitting them on an objective. They'll take their pot shots. If they fight, if they use their blight grenades, great. If you don't go near them, great. But you still need to kill them.
Yeah. I also think... Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
So, if I'm remembering, so they're still in Cataphracti, right? But Cataphracti no longer has the disadvantages of advancing on a D3. But
yes.
They changed the name of it. But yeah, it's functionally the same.
It's still movement speed 4, right?
No,
5. It's 5, and they get their full advance roll.
Yeah, they changed the invulnerable save to be called diseased Terminator armor, and then they made everything else like a normal Terminator. They move 5, they can get their full advance.
So all the flavor of Cataphracti armor, none of the calories.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, too, like a big 10-man unit like this, they have lots of stratagems to boost them. We already talked about Veterans of the Long War returning as a 2 command point stratagem, which was called what again?
Infernal Hatred?
Not Veterans,
Undying,
everyone's going to call
Undying
it Veterans.
Hatred, something like that. Yeah, everyone's going to call it Veterans. All right, not Veterans for 2 command points.
Eternal Hatred.
Eternal Hatred. Okay, so as we were saying, not Veterans for 2 command points. Is great on a 10-man squad. They can also turn all of their bolters into plague weapons for, I think it's 2 command points for a 10-man squad.
Yeah, and that'll pair very nicely with Mortarion's reroll aura.
Used to be a stratagem that we saw used on Plague Marines a lot, but now that you can use it on the Terminators, because it used to be Plague Marines only, now it's core Bubonic Astartes, so the Terminators are also a legal target, is like pretty crazy on them. And you can then make your plague weapons 6 to wound be AP4. If you have something within your range of your target's Space Marine, you're rooting on 3s, you're rolling 1, 6 are AP4, and all of a sudden your bolters are just like mowing down Space Marines. Yeah, they kind of can just like churn command points into damage in a really kind of a scary way.
Well, yeah, that's the other reason. I was oscillating between doing 2 5-mans or 1 10-man, and I stuck with the 1 10-man because I can put all my stratagems into them. They can fire, and because I have a delivery mechanism between Mortarion setting up a space for them.
Okay.
Like I can use Mortarion to set up a space for them to go to drop somewhere, and at worst, they're going to be able to shoot something where they drop. At best, I'll also be able to get off a charge.
The last thing I would say about this list is that Death Guard have the Space Marine thing where they can give unit champions relics.
Yes.
And there's like a list of 5. 4 of them are awful, and the 5th one is a relic scythe that you can put on Death Shroud Terminator sergeants or champions. There's no penalty to hit with it. It's strength 8, AP 3, flat 3 damage.
Beautiful.
It will kill your 3 wound, toughness 5 things.
On 2s. Like it kills eradicators on 2s. And keep in mind that the Death Shroud champion is just a Space Marine captain. He's got 5 attacks sitting on 2s. Like he's actually just a Space Marine captain.
I remember when Space Marines had Space Marine captains.
Yeah, well, Space Marine captains are now... The reason they don't have them anymore is because they're all leading Death Shroud Terminator squads, where they were always meant to be. Like, when I saw 5 attacks on the data sheet, my eyes bugged out. Like, are you kidding, GW? 5? That's the number you're going with? 5?
But they don't get
Thunderhammer.
But they don't get the extra attack with on the charge.
They don't need it.
Space Marine captains are actually base 4. They're 5 when they charge. These guys are just better.
Yeah.
Like
it's already on par with a captain.
I don't know. He's like as tanky as it's ridiculous. It's so good.
So the other thing I think I would want to change with this list, I'd probably make that 9-man Plague Marine squad like a 6-man, and use the extra points you already have in the list to put a tally man in. So you
Okay.
can get
He's too
points
good.
back.
I like how the Tallyman went from like an absolute garbage tier unit to something people are actually bringing now and have a reason to buy.
Do you want to tell the people why, Chris?
I can tell you why people didn't bring them before, and it's because it had garbage rules where the only rule was basically like, hey, if you roll a 7 after using a command point, you get it back. That was his rule.
7+, which is more than 50%.
No, it's about 50%.
It's more than 50%.
7 is the most commonly rolled number on a pair of dice.
It's a 7-up now, and also he is a really good relic that he can take now too.
Right.
Which is it's a 6-inch aura of 6s to hit for core bubonic Astartes units in ranged combat are double hits instead. Which when you're shooting, 40 plus bolters a turn is insane.
It starts adding up real fast. Yeah, and I always do appreciate it when GW like makes a unit that was just not viable before, but had a cool model into something that is worth taking and putting into a list. Because the Tallyman model is pretty cool, and I don't know, does the model come with like a little like Nurgling with an abacus like it does in the art?
I couldn't tell you. I don't.
Let's find out.
Tallyman. But yeah, the Tallyman is really good now. I think most, if not, I think a vast majority of lists are also going to bring it.
Right.
Yeah. Also, if we haven't,
he does have a little Nurgling. Yep, he does have a little.
He also gives a Plague Marine or Terminator unit +1 a hit every turn.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's definitely a unit I'd add.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. All right, Kevin, wanna send us yours?
Sure thing. So, I was looking into like the reasons why you would not want to play Mortarion, and I was kind of thinking about like, well, if people are really gunning for like single target like takedown, I was like, what if I were trying to spread that out? That could diss out. So I actually tried building a list without Mortarion to have one of our lists not have him. It still might be a mistake, I will say. So I'm going to caveat that. But
fair.
starting off, it's a battalion with a Lord of Contagion. I am the Poxmongers. So the Poxmongers Contagion is it's an aura of -1 leadership and -1 to attrition checks. Death Guard actually got quite a few ways to manipulate leadership in this book. And so with this, one of the things I can see kind of like Death Guard kind of struggling against is actually just like a swarm army, like the Necron kind of swarm kind of thing,
Like
or the Scarab
Obseki
swarm. Yeah. And being able to be like, your swarms are just like being decimated by morale and always failing morale is like, I see a lot of value with that. So
It's an interesting form of anti-horde.
Yep. So Lord of Contagion, he's going to be the Warlord. He's going to have that Warlord Contagion. Also have a Malignant Playcaster. He's going to have the -1 to hit spell and the aura range. Oh, sorry, the contagion range.
The not aura TM.
Yes. The Poxmongers have a unique relic that you pick a demon engine, and that demon engine gets +1 to its invuln save until your next command phase. So I'm going to be going with that on him. A unit of Plague Marines, 2 units of Poxwalkers, 1 10-man unit of Light Lord Terminators with bubonic axes, 1 5-man with bubonic axes, the Tallyman, with the relic that makes the 6s to hit multiple hits.
Is that 2 Tallymans or just 1 Tallyman?
Oh, sorry, just one Tallyman.
Okay.
Well,
you can get both units +1 to hit. Like two seems fine.
And almost guaranteed you get that CP back if you're like light on them. Anyway,
Fair.
3 fetid blowtones with flesh mowers. One of the things I kind of wanted to cover with Ben's, but didn't have a good opportunity to talk about it. Flesh mowers got a lot better in this codex. They're now multiplying the number of attacks you get, and blowtones lost a wound, but this also means they don't degrade. So like, you kind of like hit in them, and if you get stuck in, they kind of just like flesh mow you down.
How many attacks is it total?
I believe it is 10? 5? They're 5 base?
I can look it up.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
It
is. They are 4 base, but it's 3 attack. It's 3 swings per attack, so it's 12.
Gotcha. Okay. For some reason, my brain was like 12. Like, no, they couldn't be 6 attack space. That doesn't
Couldn't be
make
that
sense.
high. No, it's that high.
It is
No,
12,
it is.
but I was incorrect on the multiplier.
Yeah.
2 units of Defilers and 1 Plague Burst Crawler with the entry cannon, because the damage on it got a lot better.
What did the damage go up to on the entropy cannons?
D3 +3.
All right, so a lot more consistency. It's no longer just the mini laser cannon with all of its strengths and all of its pitfalls.
Yeah, now it's average 5, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of the things I'd like to call out is the Terminator stratagem. So when a Terminator kills a unit, you can spend a model in a unit, you can spend a CP to make them have -4 to their morale check.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
What?
Yeah. And
So
then
when I'm saying like you
get
can
fucked,
make
Night
things
Lords.
fail
yeah, eat your heart out.
they fail morale.
So and then your aura is another -1, right?
Yep.
So it's -5. Oh no!
You kill a 3-man. You kill a custode from a 3-man unit, and the other one runs away, and then it's a 50-50 on the last one.
That's disgusting.
That's
This is -1 on your stupid attrition test. So the last guy's on a 1, 2, or 3. He runs away. Oh,
Cowardly.
oh
custodes.
no!
that's obscene.
That's
It
really
really
good.
is.
Man, that's gonna be like, all right, my guys drop down. 8 of them shoot one way, 2 of them shoot at that guard squad. I wipe out that one guard squad and shooting, and the other one just runs away. Like the whole squad's gone.
Yep.
I killed 4 guys, -4 leadership. Their leadership 2, so they're failing. And then, that's disgusting. So good, I love it. GW may have done it. They may have made leadership matter. Like, what's the number that matters? It's 4. It needs to be 4 leadership for 1 command point, and then we'll start thinking about it, GW. And they did it. They printed it.
Kind of like Omar's list, the 10-man Blight Lord unit is kind of just like a place I can stick command points to get some killing in. And kind of like Ben's list, all the demon engines just got a lot better. And I can kind of make a Defiler go into something and like tank there for a good bit, because it's like Defiler's on a 4-up and -1 to hit. Thank you, my relic. Thank you, my spell. And that's like, there's not a lot of things that are easily going to chew through that.
Yeah, it's like pretty sweet that you have like just like the 2 Defilers as like your frontline demon engines, quote unquote, but you can kind of like send one in with a 4-up invulnerable save, and once that one's dealt with, you can like send the other one in. And like T7 with 4-up invulnerable saves are like, that's no joke. That's a unit you gotta think about removing.
Yeah. I mean, I really like your list. It's honestly, that's what I would do if I didn't have Mortarion. It would be similar to that.
Yeah,
I don't think I wouldn't do Defilers.
Just the tough shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily do Defilers. I think I'd do 2 Plague Burst Crawlers instead, and Blood Drones with Death Shroud and no Poxwalkers. But
the Poxwalkers are in there because they're like the cheapest troop choice.
Fair.
There would have been a third one if I had another Terminator unit, but I thought that the 10-man unit was probably more important to utilize that CP, because I can see there being situations where like I might have more CP than damage, and then they let me fix that.
All right. Shall I talk about the last list?
Please.
All right, so I have a second list that we're gonna go through. I was also looking at a list without Mortarion in it, and then I thought about it for a while and realized the list I had written was just worse for not having Mortarion in it, and I rewrote it to put Mortarion in it because that's where Mortarion is. All right, so this list is much more infantry based. My last one. I'm actually trying to play the mission this time. I promise. All right. So I'm starting off with 9 command points because I bought 2 extra warlord traits and an extra relic. I'm playing the ferryman again because until proven otherwise, I'm going to probably just keep putting that on the top of my Plague Marine list. I'm actually don't think I'm going to end up I don't own a Death Guard army. I don't think I'm going to be playing them, but every time a Death Guard person is like trying to write lists with me, I'm just going to be like, play the ferryman. You got to do it. They're so good. All right. So we have a Lord of Contagion. His warlord trait is the droning, and he has the ferryman's relic, so reroll all hits and wounds in melee, because they have a Man Reaper. Lord of Contagions have an extra 3 inches on their contagion abilities, so that lets them really spread the contagions. I was going somewhere with that sentence and then it died. So yeah, he's going to end up with a very large aura of the droning, which is excellent. All right, then we have a Malignant Plaguecaster. 2 spells. One is +1 strength and +1 toughness for infantry, for a Plague Guard infantry unit. This is completely disgusting on the Terminators. Should go up to toughness 6 and their strength on their weapons. 7 for the axes, 8 for the Reapers. 9 for the Relic Reaper. The toughness 6 is the part that like really makes it silly, and it combines with this other spell, which is Gift of Contagion, not Gift of Contagion. My goodness, which is -1 strength, and if it goes off on an 8 or higher, it also becomes -1 attack. My only complaint with this particular spell is that they wrote 8+ instead of higher than 7 because this is the Nurgle book. But when you can like look at like a melee mosh pit or a melee mosh pit that's about to happen, and you're just like, all right, your guys are -1 strength, my guys are +1 toughness, like. Man, like sometimes your Blood Angels, like strength 3 chain swords, are just like bouncing off of your toughness 6 Terminators, and it's a really bad time for them. We've been talking a bunch about how good like full reroll Lightning Claws are in like a lot of these like melee armies. Like, oh man, like White Scars melee Terminators, like full rerolls on their Lightning Claws. It's like, all right, well, what if they're going into toughness 6 Terminators and they're strength 3? Well, then they don't do any damage, and that's what this Playcaster can do. And, you know, in games where the -1 strength is important, he can just smite because that's still like a useful function. All right. Troops choices. I brought 60 Poxwalkers in 3 units.
Jesus Christ.
I think Poxwalkers are insane in this book. Like one of the most pushed troop choices that there are, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Now, because we're bringing Poxwalkers, that means I'm obligated to bring core bubonic Astartes, and I didn't bring Plague Marines, so that means I have to have 3 units of Terminators. So I have a 10-man unit of Blight Lords, a 5-man unit of Blight Lords, and a 5-man unit of Death Shroud Terminators. So I brought them up from 3 to 5, and then the leader has the Reaper of Glorious Entropy, which is the actual name of the relic. The Reaper of Glorious Entropy. And I don't know, he's like the greatest Space Marine captain that was never a Space Marine or a captain.
I'm sure at one point in his life he was a captain.
He was a Space Marine at best.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's calm down.
We're gonna. This unit I think is legitimately starting on the table and just running into the middle of the table. They don't like need to do anything. Your opponent can't get close to them because if they ever touch a unit, that unit just kind of disappears in a puff of red smoke. Like legitimately, the 5 guys with the swing profile can be 20 attacks at 4-2-1 with your target at -1 toughness with rerolling 1s to wound. And then the big guy is making 5 attacks at 8-3-3, which is like, hey, like this unit can kill a knight if they want to, like not like without like significant troubles. Like you can cast 1 psychic power into this unit and spend no command points, and they're just gonna like chop a knight's knees out from under it. And if they miss the knight, what's the knight gonna do? Stomp on them with its 1 damage stomps? They don't give a shit. It doesn't even win them on 2s. They're toughness 5. Yeah, Death Shroud Terminators are insane. Like their only issue is like, you know, the 5-inch movement is something.
You can get around that.
Yep. Then we have a Tallyman. He has an extra warlord trait, which is the Arc Contaminator. So within 6 inches of him, units, core infantry reroll wound rolls with plague weapons, not just wound rolls of 1. All wound rolls if they're in melee, or all wound rolls if they're within 12 inches of their target. He also has an extra relic, which is the 6s to hit and shooting, double hit. We have that for our 15 Blight Lord Terminators with their Stormbolters. We also have a Biologist Putrefier, who is incredible. So he makes grenades thrown near him, strength 4, AP 1-2 damage, which is fine. There's a neat stratagem where you can pick a unit and 2 of their guys, their grenades become 3 of the models in the unit, their grenades become pistol 6. So then you can make 18 shots. Oh, and they automatically hit. So it's 18 hits at 4-1-2 with full rerolls if they're in range of both the Putrefier and the Tallyman, which is neat. We're honestly probably not using it very often, but that's something that makes Plague Marines kind of interesting, because like the upgrade from a combi bolter that could be a plague weapon isn't that big, but the upgrade from that from like a normal bolter is huge, or like a guy who doesn't have a weapon because he's holding a melee weapon. The Biologic Putrefier's other thing is that the Blades of Putrefaction power was insane, but it's gone. But they now just stapled it to his data sheet. So at the beginning of every charge, so once per round, at the beginning of either a fight phase or a charge phase, he can pick a unit, and until the end of the next fight phase, or the current fight phase, if you do it in the fight phase, all of their unmodified 6s to wound do an additional mortal wound in melee. That Blight Lord Terminator, it only works with plague weapons. That Blight Lord Terminator squad, those 5 guys, if they sweep, they have 4 attacks each. So 20 attacks plus the 5 from the leader, 25 attacks. Every 6 is going to do a mortal wound. The Blight Lord, that's the Death Shrouds. I apologize with the sweeps. The Blight Lords with their axes, again, full rerolls against whatever their target is. 31 attacks on the charge from the 10-man squad. And this isn't like a stratagem, like it's just a thing that they do, that he does every turn, so it doesn't cost me anything. So like if the 5-man squad's going to someone, I can just put it on them. It's an insane damage buff. The Putrefier is super, super, super pushed. And then the last model on my list is Mortarion, because why would I not put Mortarion in my list?
Yeah, we've discussed Mortarion to death. POL.
All right, well, I'm discussing him more because here's where Poxwalkers are broken. Poxwalkers have a stratagem for a command point called Mutant Strain, that all of their hit rolls of 6 do a mortal wound, and all of their hit rolls of 1 do a mortal wound to themselves. Mortarion can chapter master them so they reroll all of their hit rolls, including 2s through 5. So you can just fish for 6s. If all 20 of a Poxwalker unit touches someone, it's 12 mortal wounds on average before they roll saves.
And touching all 20, getting them all in range is doable because they're still on 25 mil bases.
Yeah, because their bases are tiny, and it doesn't have to be the same unit. It's not like you target a unit for this. You're just like, you target your attacking unit. So like you can charge multiple things and just be like, everyone gets some love. And this is damage done by their attacks, so it triggers their thing that when they kill models, they can reanimate guys back into their own unit. Which means that you have to kill the Poxwalkers first, because if they touch you, they just pick up whatever they touch.
You have to kill Poxwalkers.
But they're little crappy 100-point units, so like I don't care if you shoot at them. Like if you shoot at them, I'm not spending command points on that stratagem, so I lose nothing, and I can just, chapter master some Terminators and shoot at you. But if you don't shoot them, they just go into you, and it's a complete disaster. Poxwalkers are incredible. They're 5 points a model, and they have feel no pains. So like the mortal wounds they do to themselves, sometimes 1/6 of those bounce. And also, sometimes they can just immediately stand themselves back up from the mortal wounds they're dealing to their target. In fact, most of the time, they're going to do more to their target than to themselves. So, even if they kill themselves, they just immediately end up back up on their feet. So the cost is like really low. Yeah, I'm really into Pox. And there's 60 of them. So like, I'm also playing the mission because I'm just putting 60 infantry bodies in the front of my army. I'm like running them up. You have to go deal with them to like get them off of the objectives because they're not core, but they are OBSEC. As opposed to cultists, which are core but not OBSEC. GW had some fun with the troop choices in this book. I'm really into Poxwalkers. Originally, I was going to bring this as a different play company whose strategy lets you reroll all hit rolls for Poxwalkers. I had like 100 Poxwalkers in the list, and I was like, you know what? I actually don't need to do this. I can just like bring 60, which is enough. And then put Mortarion in, he gives them full rerolls, and then I can play a real play company with like the Ferryman, because the other play companies' traits are not good. The only thing they have going for them is the Poxwalker reroll thing, which you can just get at Mortarion because Mortarion gives you everything. I think this list is super strong. You have piles and piles of OBSEC bodies. Truly heinous melee output for when those bodies start, folding. Some of the scariest melee buffers in the game from the Putrefier and the Tallyman. Mortarion, who's going to also just like be a huge issue because like if you have like 4 in Mortarion, you're like, all right, like which one do I go deal with? And if you kill Mortarion, like Poxwalkers will still do 6 mortal wounds to their stratagem. So like you kind of have to deal with that, but you don't want to like shoot at the Poxwalkers when there's a Mortarion in front of you, and then behind there, I don't know. The list seems real scary.
The only thing I will say to that, the guns I'm shooting into Poxwalker are not the guns I'm shooting into Mortarion.
That's super fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of bodies to get rid of. It's just you have to put out 90 wounds. Well, probably more because of the feel no pain.
Yeah, they have feel no pains, and their toughness 4, which is high for like a 5-point model. So like a lot of like like a lot of these strength 4, strength 3 weapons that we are used to like clearing hordes. They don't clear them as efficiently as we think of them because they're like they're not tanky as a plague bearer, but they're half the cost, so they don't have to be. And their damage output's higher for reasons.
I mean, I like this book a lot just because all of our armies play fairly differently and are doing different things. Like we have archetypes and they're overpowered in their own way.
Yeah, we were talking about, Kevin and I were talking a lot about like how we feel about Mortarion just being like probably the correct choice in every list right now. And like it does stink that's like, man, just put Mortarion in your list. But the other 1,500 points, I think you have a lot of options. I think that there's going to be a lot of different builds coming out of the
and I mean, this is kind of what we're seeing in 9th though with the books that have come out. You can do a lot. You have a lot of different options. You can play the game the way you want to. You're not stuck doing one thing so far.
Yeah. Yep. And I also keep in mind too, I'm not done like with like how like nonsensical this list is. Like those Poxwalkers can like spread out you can spend command points to make them spread the droning, and they're huge footprints.
Oh.
So you can give them the droning and then make their aura of the droning +1. You can make them toughness 5 with the +1 strength and toughness for an infantry unit because it doesn't say core on it right now. That might get FAQ'd because toughness 5 poxwalkers might not be a thing GW is looking to have in the game right now.
I thought
Typhus
toughness
still
4 is
buffs them.
already scary enough.
He does.
Typhus gives them +1 strength. He does not give them +1 toughness anymore. And their attack is 301. So like the difference between my 301 attack and my 401 attack is whatever. Like that being said, Typhus is very good. So like just putting Typhus in your list is perfectly fine. The original version of this list did have Typhus, but in the end, I didn't need him.
Okay.
Do you mind if I switch topics to kind of Chaos Space Marines on a whole and what we might be getting at, like thinking about from this book?
Yeah,
Before
let's
we
do
do
some
that,
baseless
do we wanna-
speculation.
Wait, before we do that, I think we have to rate this book. Where do we feel this book fits in the meta?
I think it's going to be brutal. I think it's going to change the meta a lot, and it's.
Do you think it's going to fight for the holy trinity of Space Marines, Harlequins, and Demons? Do you think it's going to wedge its way in there?
I think it's going to disrupt them.
I really want to say this book is S tier, and it's not just because I have a Death Guard T-shirt. Can it get there? I think in the right hands, it can. I think the mad scientist known as Don Husin is gonna come up with some crazy shit with the tools that are in this book. And I think Space Marine players right now are gonna have to rethink some things. You know, a lot of the points efficiency units that Space Marine players would be taking just fall flat against Death Guard. Plasma Inceptors, they're not good against
nothing. They do nothing.
You know, and that's one of the more points efficient units in the book right now for Space Marines. You know, you got a unit of Plasma Inceptors, you got some Eradicators, you know, throw in some Intercessors, and, you know, you got a Space Marine stew going. You know,
what do you think, Kevin?
And that's changed.
Yeah,
that's
it's definitely changed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like most of the lists we've talked about, Harlequins are the only things that are kind of keeping up because Harlequins do something so different. Like a lot of the. Go ahead.
I actually feel like that's true against like the Demon Engine lists, but like think about the like Mortarion and the Terminators. Like what do the Harlequins have against that? Like, I don't think there's a unit in the Harlequin book that like looks at a Terminator squad and is like, I can deal with that. They all do 2 damage. Everything's like, oh, I'm strength 4 with full rerolls doing 2 damage, and like that's not good against like AP2. And it's like these guys are like, you're doing 1 damage each. I have to fail 6 4-up saves for you to kill 2 guys, and then like on the crackback, they're so good at melee, and the Harlequins are all gonna be toughness 2. The bolters wound them on 2s.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think Harlequins are in a lot of trouble against this book.
Okay, so Harlequins have a lot of trouble against, we're going to say, traditional Death Guard lists, or like more core Death Guard lists.
Yep.
I think Space Marines, like, they're going to have to reinvent themselves to handle Mortarion.
Yeah,
everyone is.
And I think Demons are going to have a hard time against Mortarion, and their Hordes are going to have a hard time against the rest of what Death Guard have going on. This might be the top tier book of the game right now.
I don't think there's a single build that's like, this is the best build, this is crushing everything, but I think that our top 3 might be a top 4, like real soon. I think that Death Guard's going to be right up there with them.
Yeah.
Or they might just keep Demons out. Demons might just
be being such a
up.
monster and potentially like taking over the meta. Just remember, like, we as a community figured out how to beat the Castellan. We can do it again.
Yeah, GW, please nerf it. Castellan.
The Castellan couldn't take invulnerable saves in melee, and you were allowed to reroll your dice with your Smash Captain. You don't get to do that against Mortarion.
Well, so I think part of the point with bringing a unit like Mortarion in is to create something that forces people to rethink. Space Marines fell into Eradicators a lot and Plasma Inceptors, and just everything's out the door.
I think that they're going to fall back to Eradicators. Eradicators is the thing you need to kill Mortarion, and you need more of them than you've ever put in a list before.
Well, the problem is, what happens when you play against that Death Guard?
What happens if you play against this list with 20 plague bearers in it, or 60 plague bearers in it? Like, yeah, exactly. I think that
Like, you can't just like, yeah, you can counter this one list, but when you build a list, you're building to fight everyone.
yeah,
You need-
exactly.
So you can't just have a million eradicators, because what happens if someone goes, all right, I'm playing Tyranids?
Oh, I understand.
There's going
I
to
get
be
what you're
some
saying.
bold guys out there who are willing to make meta calls and play a skew list.
Yep.
By
Yep,
the
I
way,
think the
real
meta's
quick
gonna be
on
really wild.
real quick on Tyranids, having looked at Mortarion, I am retracting my statement about Tyranids having a chance.
Yeah, no. we were talking about Tyranid lists, and we were really excited when this book came out. And we're like, how do we beat Mortarion? And we looked at the entire Tyranid lineup, and we're like, all right, well, we give up. Tyranids are bad. Mortarion
All
exists.
right, let's wait for a new book. See you guys in 2
They
years.
have nothing. They have nothing.
All their guns are like 2 damage if they're lucky, or like a lot of 2 damage or D3 in there. Mortarion just laughs that off. You can spend 2 command points to make it so that one of their nids gets to shoot well, but even then, it's like one 200-point unit does not cannot phase a Mortarion, even if it's doing okay.
And like we keep talking about Mortarion, but like we have to remember, like the Terminator squads are heinous.
Keep in mind, the Terminator squads were already good. They got better.
They just,
They're
yeah.
so much better. I think they get a little better. They got so much better.
Even if they just like stop the change at just like bumping up their movement 1 additional inch, that's so big. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gotten screwed over because of a 4-inch move and just getting kited around the board because I failed the initial charge once they deep struck.
Chat is saying that you kill Mortarion with flamers and salamanders, but the problem with that is that you don't get any rerolls because your opponent gets to pick which trait that Mortarion gets to get. They're going to take the Gloaming Bloat, and they're going to throw. I'm just chat. All right, almost pro gaming in chat is saying. You use salamanders, and yeah, salamanders do have like some abilities to injure Mortarion for sure, but remember that he can push out his no reroll or up to 12 inches, which is the range of salamander flamers. So you're gonna have to do it with no rerolls. So you're just rooting on 5s with and that's it. You're rooting on 5s.
So
Pretty
he's
nice
not
down.
just chat. His name is Brady. He's a dear friend of mine, and he runs the YouTube channel Almost Pro Gaming.
Fair enough. So I don't know him personally, but that's fair enough. I've seen his YouTube channel. It's pretty good.
Same.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for swinging by, Brady. Check out his YouTube channel. It's pretty good. Wounds on 4s. Are you up to strength 5 with the flamers? Yeah, you only get +1 to wounds because you can't be multiple bonuses to wounds, so it's just wounding on 5s. He's tough.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Yep.
I mean, like, that's if you're comparing it against wounding on 6s. If you're wounding on 5s, you're getting twice as many wounds.
Yeah, it's not enough though. And then like he saves on 4s and has a 5 feel no pain, 18 wounds, and yeah, it's pretty ridiculous how tanky he is. And when you have to rely on like really short range firepower to deal with him, like he's a big flyer, like he can not open himself up to that, which is scary. Like he's very good. I do think that the flamers, aggressors are like one of the things that we're going to see pointing at him a lot. Eradicators we're going to see pointing at him a lot. Honestly, I think if you can find a way of doing all of your damage output in mortal wounds, like 1,000 Suns sitting behind demons, that's like one of the reasons I think the demon lists have a chance against him, is that they can swing back towards the like TJ Lanigan style of like Magnus, 2 to 3 sorcerers, things to sit in front of that. And like if you do literally all your damage in mortal wounds, the majority of Mortarion's defensive abilities just don't function against that.
Mm.
Interesting.
We'll see what happens. I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Were we supposed to be talking about Chaos Marines?
We were, but then I was like, hey, we should talk about how good this book is, and we all got a little lost in the weeds about how ridiculously good this book is. All right, Kevin, how do you feel what this book says about the future of Chaos Space Marines?
So I think we can get that Veterans of the Long War is probably just going to become the +1 to wound for everything. which makes me think that they're going to have a higher focus on renegade chapters or something along that lines.
Do you think
So-
veterans is going to be too CP to match?
Correct.
Yeah.
I just think veterans is gone. And I think it's all just going to become eternal hatred.
Yeah, because the problem. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think they're going to make it so that you can custom build Chaos Space Marine chapters.
For sure.
Are you saying that we're going to go back to 3rd edition veteran skills for each unit?
So the issue with calling it veterans is then renegade chapters can't use it reasonably. So, and I think renegade chapters are going to be our build a legion. Like we have a build a chapter, and they're just like, oh, it's some successor chapter, and our renegade chapters are going to be our build a legion. And it's going to be like weird to be like build a legion, but also you can't use the best stratagem in the book.
We also saw that the Cult Marines went down to units of 10. I think that means we're also going to have to expect that to come out of the Chaos Space Marines, the troop choice.
Mhm.
With that, I'm expecting some number of changes to like both point cost, but also something to amplify their damage, like because being more readily available, kind of like the -1 here, but something similar for Chaos Space Marines almost confirms it.
Yeah, because they're paying some point cost for being able to go to a 20-man squad that then like multiple sorcerers and dark priests can just like pray and cast spells on, and all of a sudden it has like 20 more rules than it was supposed to have. And when your squad's 20 big, it's like, all right, well, I have to pay something for that.
Another place where Chaos Space Marines, the troop choice, aren't probably going to be paying is I think we're losing Death of the False Emperor.
Yeah.
For sure.
If it's
That
not in
will
this
come.
book, I don't see it showing up in the Chaos book.
Yeah, and Death of the False Emperor was like, it was a legitimately powerful rule against Imperium, and you had to put some amount of points into it, but like when you face other Chaos or other Xenos, it just felt like you were behind. I think that's going to go away. Man, I had one more thing I thought we could like glean from this.
Dreadnoughts, -1 damage, question mark.
Dreadnoughts.
By dreadnoughts, I mean halberds, because their -1 damage ability is not called disgustingly resilient. It's monstrously resilient, which is like generic enough that it could show up in other. Oh, and their bonuses, because the way the stupid frenzy rule that was always awful except for when it was broken got changed, right?
Oh, yeah. By the way, Halberds are actually really good in Death Guard. I was actually trying to get one into my list. I thought Fetid Blowtorns were just a little bit better, but Halberds really good. The Death Guard have a strat for 2 command points that the damage spills through the unit. So where normally the problem with Dreadnoughts is you're not actually like damaging a wide unit, and you can kind of bog them down with that. You can't do that against Death Guard ones.
That's for melee core, if I remember correctly.
Melee core. So yeah, you can use it on Terminators and that, but like Halberds get a little bit better.
Yeah, and as long as they're the old rule used to be when they got damaged, the end of phase roll a d6 on a 6, they get to shoot again, and that was like great when you rolled a 6 and actually blank text in like 90% of games because they just like it didn't do anything. Now it is when they attack, if they are damaged, they can reroll wound rolls of 1, which is really excellent.
There's some nice synergy there with plasma cannons, where you intentionally overcharge and if oh no, I dealt myself a wound.
Oh,
What a disaster!
I've tried that, and it's worked out. Like out of maybe like half a dozen times I've tried it, it worked out once.
Right, but this is like the difference here is that like we need the wound and we guaranteed get effect. It's not like we need to get wounded and then hope for 6. It's very different.
That's true.
Also, Dreadnought plasma cannons do 3 damage now, so it's not a bad weapon anymore.
And it has blast.
I'm not finding blast to like be that relevant in actual gameplay. It just makes everybody not take.
You
anything
will
more
when
than
your opponent
5.
puts 10 Blightlord Terminators down across from you, and you're gonna be like, "Oh man, I'm glad that my weapons always do at least 3 shots against them."
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Ben and I got a game of Tabletop Simulator in. Game might be a.
It was yeah.
So.
Guys, I do have
I
to run. I'll
Okay.
talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye, Omar.
I was playing Death Watch, so I was taking like actually larger than normal size squads, and he was playing knights. And let me tell you, armigers, just all their melta guns being flat 3, felt real bad,
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
bad.
I bet.
Um, yeah, that game was a little bit awkward in that I kind of exposed some units in order to take out a big knight, and I like flubbed the damage. Actually,
Yeah, it made 8 or it made 6 out of 8 invulnerable saves against an Eradicator unit and lived with 1 wound. It was really awkward.
yeah, and that Eradicator shot in with full hits, full wound rerolls because I had the Death Watch. Like if I'm super heavy as my doctrine, and I have this matching as full wound rerolls, so full reroll Eradicators into a knight, and I only took off 11 wounds from it with that squad. Was not the number I needed.
Yeah, I mean, so the lesson from that game though is that blast on D3 shot weapons is really silly against 6-man squads because it's just max every time. That's what makes the plasma inceptors so silly, and that's why. And I think it's also going to help to really make the armigers at 135 points something that we need to think about and probably talk about at some point.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have on Death Guard though. I think the book is great.
I think so too. I think it bodes well for Chaos Marines in the future. There's going to be some changes. We can't expect just the reprints of the same book. So, and I would be mad if it was again.
I mean, why would Chaos Space Marines 3 be any different than Chaos Space Marines 2? It was like a perfectly functional reprint of Chaos Space Marines 1.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great book. I think GW is on the right track with making books that don't have a lot of dead weight that you got to drag along sometimes to make it work. It feels like every unit in this book has its role. And there's still a lot of customization where, I think a problem with like a lot of the early 8th edition books and going into mid 8th was you would look at a book and be like, all right, this is the build.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yep. Yeah, and now here we are. We're like, do we play? We like, right? We definitely play Mortarion, and then we Terminators, maybe Poxwalkers. Who knows? Maybe we should like. Kevin and I were discussing the merits of cultists, which we had like originally just written off. We're like, no, they can use some actions for secondaries. Like, there's a reason to take them. Yeah, this book is wide open. There's so much you can do now. It's not just like, oh, there's like the 3 things that GW like made better than everything else, and then the stuff they didn't care about. No, the whole book is super viable.
I have an interesting thought when I look at it and think about Space Marines, and that like I think about where the Space Marines got nerfs. I'm just like, Space Marines might be challenged against Death Guard now.
Yeah. can we have those 5 points back on Eradicators, please? We need them. Staring nervously at Mortarion.
Which is interesting. It makes me hopeful that GW actually had a big game plan for everything in the in this edition. Yeah, this expansion of the game.
Keeps getting bigger, man. Just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, Brady's saying in chat, seems like GW finally figured out how to write good practical rules while still keeping it fluffy. And yeah, that's a hard agree with me from me. Strong agree.
Yeah.
And I think it bodes well for the future of for this edition. Any other closing thoughts before we sign off for the night? I'm
really looking forward to what they do to Magnus.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I'm scared about what they're gonna do to Magnus.
I'm also that. I'm a little concerned they're gonna do something to Magnus. We're gonna have fun for a month, and then they're just like, all right, this model needs to be 800 points until we can reconsider what we did. Chat knows what's up. Magnus did do nothing wrong. All right, that's all I got.
It's hard to do something wrong when you're bad.
Magnus did do something wrong, and it was that thing was not destroying the Space Wolves when he had a chance.
Oh, that's fair actually.
Yeah,
probably should destroy the Space Wolves.
Yeah. All right, so thanks for listening to this week's show, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to thank our contributors for this episode: Kevin Lee, Benjamin Rubenstein, and Omar Q. This has been the 3D6 Charge podcast. Bye for now, and in the meantime, don't roll any ones.
Magnus did nothing wrong.